Hi, Ray here. I've been avoiding this subject for a while now, but I figured it's time that I wanted to do this little fireside chat. I generally save editorials for my website, but if you'll hold on, I have to say something about the continuing narrative surrounding Nikon's supposed impending demise. To start off, I'm not suggesting that the discussion of the camera king's troubled financial situation should be verboten or that the company's decisions shouldn't be open to criticism, particularly from those of us who are, after all, its investors/customers. But a lot of the commentary seems to have a tone, like a real tone of smugness or even glee at Nikon's predicament. I don't understand it. And let's face it, though this is outside the limits of even this video, a lot of what we're getting is far outside the realms of journalism. So much of what we get in this arena is, I don't know, clickbaitery? Is that a brave new word? It's gossip mongering. The controversy is pushed by too many YouTube celebrities and faux industry zines. This week, we've seen one of the biggest purveyors of this kind of stuff offering two predictions in as many days. First, that Nikon was done for, and the next that perhaps it might yet survive. Someone apparently switched the crystal ball between posts, or just that consistency isn't part of the mission statement. I could be wrong, maybe it's their idea of fair and balanced reporting. It's no secret that I'm a Nikon user. I have been for more than 4 decades, enthusiastically so for the most part. And if you visited my channel before, you'll be familiar with my celebration, in particular, of Nikon Z-series mirrorless cameras and native designed glass. Over the years, I've made a significant investment in Nikon equipment, though I've sold and had stolen more Nikon gear than I presently own. But I am, believe it or not, agnostic when it comes to camera gear. I've used Deerdorf and Linhof view cameras, Hasselblad, Zeiss, Icon, Mamiya, medium format. My first camera was a Kodak Brownie that shot 127 film. How many remember that format? I have a host of 35mm cameras over the years, including Zenit, Minolta, Yashica, and Nikon. If Nikon was to fail, I'd be sad. Just as much, not more than, if Canon, Sony, or Fuji failed. I mean, these are all great companies filled with genius people who, by the way, have been known to migrate to different companies over their careers, carrying their knowledge with them. I mean, we're talking people's livelihoods. Why would someone wish away another person's job? Unless, I guess, it, I don't know, posed a direct threat to their health or well-being. During the 80s, I worked at some of the largest, most prolific advertising studios in North America. Thousands of square feet dedicated to applying transforming light to ordinary consumer goods. And there was so much still photography work in those days that if I got tired of one environment, like or a slave driving art director or something, I could take a bus across town, present my portfolio at another studio, and I always got hired. I guess they were that short of photographers. And then work became scarcer because of changes in the way advertising was made. There was less call for print ads. The big studios with big overheads had to tighten the reins. Many of them folded as smaller, leaner studios took over. And those smaller studios, incidentally, had much better working conditions, actually. Something similar is happening with the camera industry today. Photography has already weathered the digital revolution, and not all survived that challenge. I don't think I need to tell you that the smartphone camera has decimated the market for point-and-shoots, which was a large part of the camera market. All this is unfolding against a backdrop of further technological disruption, or, to look at it positively, I guess, innovation. So we have the present situation, something like the parallel I just mentioned in my career, where there's simply less work, less market share to go around. Primarily because technology is evolving and changing, and so people's demands along with it. Recently, in an interview in Toyo Kazai magazine, Nikon's managing executive officer, Hirotaka Ikegami, the guy I think he leads Nikon's video division, discussed the company's situation, which admittedly ain't pretty. They're bleeding bucks. Or maybe I should say, I don't know, yielding yen. Something like 48 billion. That's $449 million in the last reporting period last year. That's a lot of dough, and rising. The projected loss for this year is something like $720 million. Yeah, $720 million. Unfathomably, there seems to be an underlying glee, as I said, about Nikon's financial difficulties. In some of the commentary, I suspect it comes more from partisanship, which we see too often coming from the silos of the internet. Just like political extremism, it comes from absolutism rather than any real understanding or concern for the industry. I've said it before, it's kind of tribal. I mean, what can it really matter to keyboard warriors if Nikon fails or thrives any more than any other brand? How does it benefit them, hiding in their basements or fast food restaurants, thumbing cell phones? What happened to the idea that competition is good for the market? Isn't it better that multiple manufacturers push one another to research, innovate, and adapt? I recently made a video critical of a particular camera, not the company itself, but one of the models, which I think could be improved. I guess I might have anticipated the response, but some of it was, well, unhinged. I mean, some people agreed with my review, but particularly on Facebook, and perhaps that says something about that forum, the majority of responses were as if I'd, I don't know, announced that I was a disciple of Satan or something. A few more balanced comments acknowledged how silly some of the responses were. Anyway, my point is this. I don't believe that any company has a scorched earth policy towards its competitors. I think that just exists in extremely partisan fanboy fantasy world. In fact, it's been noted, particularly about Japanese business, that there's a great deal of respect and mutual support among manufacturers. I mean, they trade amongst themselves, right? For instance, Sony would lose a customer for its sensors if Nikon did die. Nikon doesn't just make consumer cameras. The fact that there is and will continue to be a smaller market for consumer cameras is just a fact of life. All companies have suffered the supply problems that came with COVID as well. It's like an accompanying virus. In a video last spring, I mentioned how it had affected Freewell, a manufacturer of filters. We don't know how long that disruption will continue, but if and when the world turns right side up again, there will still be a demand for pro and prosumer cameras. Yeah, I don't want to get into the continuing development of computational photography, but obviously that'll continue to play a part. Consider this. While overall camera market is shrinking, at the same time the demand for pro and prosumer cameras is expanding. So there's that. Now, in that recent interview, Ikegami admitted that Nikon had come late to the mirrorless camera party, and that was a big mistake. Like, if I'm an example looking to enjoy the advantages of mirrorless, WYSIWYG, EVF, size and weight saving, potentially improved autofocus, etc., I bought into the Fujifilm X cameras and lenses before Nikon got its shit together, and I might have invested more had Nikon not turned up late, but with the Z system, which I'm convinced will prove its worth over the longer term. In fact, I'm pretty happy with these first iterations that are filming this. Now, I don't know if Nikon is poised to prosper or if it'll flounder, and I'm not going to fall prey to speculation, but I hope, there will be a longer term success for these great Z system tools in particular. And remember, they're tools, not some sacred magical things. The magic should take place behind the camera, so practice magic. And Mr. Ikegami, perhaps chastened by the struggle, is pledging Nikon will throw extra resources into mirrorless development because That seems to be where the interest is, the future even. For the time being, he promised, and this is a quote, "We will concentrate on mirrorless cameras." And he stressed that the company was very much dedicated to further R&D in the area of video capabilities. Excellent. Because that was the main reason I bought my first Z6 nearly 2 years ago. I think that's very good news for Nikon users and for the industry, because the health of one company very much reflects on the industry as a whole. It's just kind of like how one country's health, politically or medically speaking, as we've seen recently, it tends to have ripple effects right around the world. I very much enjoy my Nikon mirrorless cameras, 2 Z6s and 3 Z-mount lenses at present. And I've been following the development in the area of the Z2 cameras with great interest, as well as the lens roadmap, which all sounds very promising. So perhaps Nikon isn't dying as much as it's being reborn, like a new incarnation. Long live Nikon! I'm pretty sure I'll be a continuing customer as long as Nikon and I survive. How about you? Well, I just had to get that off my chest. I hope we all prosper in 2021. Cheers, take care of yourselves. We'll see you again soon. Oh, and if you found this interesting, why not give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please do so and hit that notification bell so that you'll be notified of my upcoming videos. See you again.